Hi guys. Well, first of all, I'm humbled to be here and talking to everybody and sharing my story. You know, I do a lot of public speaking and I talk about our product and what we do, but I know that's not what you guys are here to listen to, and you want to hear a little bit about my journey. I'm a really big believer as a leader that we have to be human and we have to be empathetic and not to be afraid as a woman to be who we are. So I'm hoping to open up a little bit to you guys into my background and my history. I think in my own path, I've had an interesting journey. If I look back into where I was when I got out of college and where I thought I was going to go, I had some rough times. I definitely got myself into some bad situations, and it was the moment I started to love myself and realize that I am in control. I'm in control of where I am and who I am and how I want to show up every day and what's going to be in front of me. And when I realized that and that I could take on this power of control of my life, and all being said, all being true, I had a lot of good inspiration around me, and a lot of it was through books and meditation practices that started 18 years ago for me. But I started to realize that if I just focused on something with positive intention and positive emotion, it would happen. When I was going out and seeking funding, so I owned a services business. I've never really worked for anyone. I've always kind of been a self-starter. I always knew I needed to be on my own path and my own journey. But I had, you know, prior to Sixth Sense is a different beast than the last company I had for 14 years. It was a consulting company. We had anywhere from 5 to 20 consultants at any given time. It was a lifestyle business. It really didn't work that hard. I went to 36 countries. I lived in London for 3 years. I had a great life. But it was, relatively easy in my path. I look back and I realize, there's a pivotal point in that time when I was delivering some results to one of our customers. When Shira and I were talking a few moments ago, we were talking about how I got here and how Sixth Sense came about. And I saw a customer look at the results that we had, and it was the customer Cisco, and they said, you're not just predicting our sales, you actually know our customers are going to buy before we're going to buy. And I kind of took that second in that moment, I knew there was something greater and something bigger. And I had to just stop everything I was doing to move on to this path. But when I made that choice, sometimes we're in that journey and that choice, it's not going to come easy. So those of you, I don't know if any of you have tried to raise VC funding, gone through the process. I am a first time, in their eyes, I'm a first-time entrepreneur because I'd never built a product company, I'd never done this before. Truly, I'd never really had a team behind me before. I just built something that really had worked in a services world for our customers. I got a lot of no's. I got no's for almost a year. I used to joke about how I'm going to pitch a tent on Sand Hill Road because I would just drive down there every day. I'm like, okay, great, next VC meeting. And if you've been through the VC process, they get you so fucking excited that they're like into your business and you're the greatest thing ever. And you go to all partner meeting and then they say no again. So they bring you all the way up and then they just let you go. And they bring you all the way up and then they just let you go. And as I was going through this process, I realized I was missing a key component. And the reason I kept getting to the end and not going over the line was I was missing my technology team, like a really strong, awesome group of developers and data scientists that could build what I was dreaming and manifesting, what we had done on other people's software before. So I went back to my meditation practices, and every day for 8 months, I was meditating and screaming off my balcony, universe, bring me the most incredible dev team the world has ever seen. Universe, bring this team to me, bring this team to me. So as the story goes, I went to another VC meeting, all partner meeting, thinking I'm getting funded. I was at the finish line again for probably the 20th time. And the partner comes back and says, I'm sorry, after writing me a novel about how he was going to invest in us, coming back, sorry, we couldn't get one of our partners over the line, but the reason was because of your technology team, but I'm going to help you. He said, I'm going to help you find a really awesome dev and technology team behind it. 2 weeks later, he introduced me to my co-founders. And that didn't just happen because this VC saw something in me, because they see what, like 5,000 deals a year, and it wasn't because he liked me. It was because I spent that time literally manifesting on it for as long as I did. And the concept of manifestation for me is about believing with positive intention before it's there. Believing you have it before you actually have it. So even when I want to lose weight, we're all going through these challenges. I believe I'm skinny before I'm skinny. I tell myself that I'm there, I'm where I want to be, I love my body, I am where I want to be. And so that's, you know, the idea is like, if you can believe it, fake it till you make it, then you'll get there. So as I found my dev team, going back to the story, I actually lost my dog of 18 years. So those of you who are dog animal lovers, she was German Shepherd Husky, and she was by my side every day from college. You know, she was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. I went to go speak at the Rockefeller estate at a big data conference to the White House and to the UN, and talking about how we can use data in the private sector. And I had just I had this moment, you know, I kept getting all these no's. And I had this moment, I literally broke down. Like I was at my lowest low. Called my brother. I don't think I've ever cried so hard in my life. Like I was done. I was at my bottom. I had hit my rock bottom. I was convulsing. I could barely breathe. And I was like, look, I can't do this anymore. I can't keep going through this process. It's been a year I've been trying to do this. I'd given up my services business. You know, it was a multi-million-dollar business. I'd let that go. Like I'd spent everything on the people I had to keep it going, to get this funding, and it wasn't happening. And so I said, Bailey, who just died, my dog, so you have to help me. So this may sound kind of silly, but I was like, Bailey, you gotta help me. And so I'm at the Rockefeller estate. Like, help me, give me a sign. And literally a week later, Venrock, which is started by the Rockefellers, is one of my investors. So I believe that my dog was colluding with the Rockefeller angels and made that happen for me. But you know, it was never giving up. Like you just have to, and it's gonna be freaking hard, and it's hard. And I don't think this is for everyone. So everyone is saying, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. It sounds so awesome and glamorous. It's every day it's hard, and every day it gets harder. We have some awesome times, and I've had some really high highs and some really low lows. But for me, the balance of life is how you can find the stillness in it all, right? So when you're up and when you're down, how do you just maintain and just be still and be? And know and let go. And so I always meditate on the concept of letting go. Letting go of those things I can't control. I'm always gonna work really, really hard and do everything I possibly can, but let go of those things that I can't do anything about. If the market isn't there or our product's not working right now, I can help our customer, our team, to try to build something to fix it, but I can't control the outcome. And so when you let go of the outcome, you let go of that need and that tension and that tightness that just grows and gets more and more. So I look at my story, when I go back to my story, my mom, she made a choice. My mom worked for the CIA. She worked for Abel Harriman. She worked for Winston Churchill Jr. She had an incredible career before having her 3 kids. She made a choice that she wanted to raise her kids. Like, she didn't want to be working anymore. And I think that is a phenomenal, wonderful, beautiful choice. And I don't think there's any right or wrong choice that doing this and aspiring to be a leader and aspiring to have, you know, a company and do the types of things that I'm doing today is good or bad. It's just your choice. But it's also really hard. So I just always want to tell people that it's not as glamorous as it is, and you do have to make sacrifices. And you know, some people in other positions in our world and in the Valley will talk about, you know, everybody should be dreaming this huge dream to do what they you know, be the top of the company. And I do encourage every woman to dream big, because you can do it. Like, honestly, we're more likely to be successful, right? We've got people follow us, they believe in us, they love us. We have that compassion and the empathy, right? That, you know, men have a harder time doing, you know, having those qualities, and that makes us, you know, if you look at the numbers, we can do it, but you have to want to do it, and it's okay to not want to do it. So I always kind of go back to having those choices. But another little story I like to tell is my authentic self story. There was a time when I cut my hair short, and I had glasses, and I put my hair in buns. I had a unibrow. I refused to be a woman. And I didn't know that. I wasn't saying I'm not going to be a woman, but I was trying to conform to this idea of, okay, I'm in a tech world, and I need to be strong, and I need to be firm, and I don't need to, you know, I can't be soft and sappy and laugh and giggle, you know, and be who I am, because that's not a leader, and that's not somebody who people are going to follow, and people aren't going to trust and respect that. But there was a time, actually, a woman who's sitting here filming me in front, and she looked at me and she's like, Amanda, you're not being yourself, you know, and you can wear pink nail polish, it's okay, you can wear your hair down, you can wear lip gloss, right? So, and when I started to realize that, like, to be me, and it's okay, like, in the office, not always in a suit, I'm typically in socks, and I'm in my yoga clothes, and I'm dancing, and I'm running around, and I'm silly. I'm also very direct, and I have very high expectations. So it's not that I'm not leading the company, and I'm also the visionary and do all the things I do, but I can still be me. And so I just encourage us not to try to be who's there, be you, and they're gonna love you so much more for being you. So I think, you know, and there's one other story that I think is really important to my personal journey. I'm a big believer that the more you give out, the more you get back, right? So even when I see like a homeless person on the side of the street, if I give them $20, somehow like a few days later, I feel like more VC funding comes to me. Like there's this weird like correlation between those things. And I spent, you know, I always said when I was really young, people asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I said I always wanted to be a kindergarten teacher. And then that kindergarten teacher turned into, well, maybe I'll be the principal of the school, because I realized I kind of like leading. And then I was like, well, maybe I'll start a school. And actually, truthfully, right before 6th Sense, I wrote a business plan to start a school. So I actually thought I was going to start a school. And as I was going through this funding process, I became really close to a project that's near and dear to my heart called Girl Rising. It's about educating girls in developing countries. So I'm an advisor to Girl Rising. I spent about 6 months in New York giving my time, my heart, my soul, my life to that. And I tell you, there is absolutely no coincidence that right when I did that is when the funding also came in, right? So there was a connection to, I was giving, like without any expectation of return for people I didn't know about, and then my dreams were coming true, you know, soon after that. And through that process, when I was trying to figure it all out, I had some really low, like other than that time at the Rockefeller estate, I just, you know, I wasn't loving myself, right? I was having, it wasn't until I really took a step back that I was able to kind of manifest and fulfill on everything I'm doing. I feel so blessed and humbled. Like some news just came out today about what's with me, and I can't even believe I'm here, you know? So even talking to you guys and saying I'm going through this and doing what I'm doing, and I'm so incredibly lucky to be on this journey. And then the biggest thing in it all, it comes down to people. So the people that you surround yourself with. The luckiest and the most grateful thing that I have in my world is my team. I wouldn't be here, I'm not doing what I'm doing, because they are phenomenal. Like my dev team that I manifested, now my sales team, my little, I call them my entourage, and came along with me today, my data scientists that, you know, are there with me and along the journey, and that they're good-hearted people. So as you're hiring or looking to go to wherever your next career move may be, you're spending your whole life with these people, right? So it's about the heart and it's about the people, and if you can make those connections and really care about their lives, that to me is creating culture, right? So culture is about really caring about who those people are and having them be passionate about what they're doing. I mean, I want that, like culture is not about the benefits, which we've got lots, and by the way, we're hiring. So we have a monk come once a week, we have yoga, we pay for your gym membership, we do all those cool things.
Wait, did you say monk?
We do. So we have a monk come and teach us meditation if you want, as you know, once a week, just kind of like teach people. And then on New Year's Eve, one of the favorite things that I've done for the company was we led through a meditation. At the end of meditation, we did a visioning session where I had this meditation tape going and helping people vision what they wanted. And I actually had a few people come up to me afterwards and, you know, in tears, saying that they had never really thought about what they wanted, right? So they're just on this path, on this journey, and really thought about, like, what is it that I want? What do I want my life to be? Take all restrictions off. And what would I want out of life? Like, what do I want in work? What do I want at home? What do I want in my relationships with my family and my friends? And those are the things that are important. And if I can make any bit of influence on those levels, then those people will want to work with me and work for me and build something awesome together. And I think I mean, we're spending our lives at work, so shit, we shouldn't be killing ourselves for somebody you don't believe in. So that's my humble story and where I've come from, and super excited and passionate, and I sometimes just can't believe we are where we are. And I'm really incredibly feel blessed to be talking to you guys, and hopefully some little light of inspiration in your journeys. So with that, I want to open it for questions. You guys have any questions for me? Yeah.
Can you actually talk about what your company does for a little bit? I confess, I didn't go look it up.
Sorry. Yeah, great question. So we are a big data predictive intelligence engine. So we predict sales for B2B marketing. So we basically take a bunch of third-party data, so search. We take thousands of publishers' data, blogs, communities, forums, tie it to our customers' web, CRM, marketing automation data. And then for companies like Cisco, Dell, VMware, big companies, we tell them who their next prospect is going to be. So, and actually in that journey, because one piece I left off, so thanks for asking, at some point, we're going to be announcing how we are doing all that B2B marketing and predictive sales, which doesn't sound that glamorous, but also giving back in a really awesome way. So we found a way to give back to that charity I care so much about and put a lot of our dollars to something at the same time in a really creative way. And I can't wait till I can share what that is and the impact that we're going to be able to make at the end of it all. But there's always a creative solution to anything. You can do both, right? You can have both. You can do something that's, you know, helping businesses grow and succeed, but also doing good for the world at the same time.
Related to the topic of women in tech and in the workplace, I read an article recently in The Atlantic called The Confidence Gap. I don't know if anyone's read it, but it basically talks about how it's statistically proven that men will apply for positions that are out of their experience range from their resume and from their experience more frequently than women. And I think that, you know, talking to my female friends and colleagues, it's clear that that's, you know, we're not thinking big enough always. So I was just wondering if you had any advice to us about how to think bigger and how to muster that confidence from
fake
someone.
it till you make it, right? Just keep faking it. Like, I faked it, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, right? Like software, I'd never done it before, right? And, you know, I had to stand tall and proud, and actually, I say that all, like, I love that study, I've seen that as well, and there's so many others that where a man will come in with a half-baked idea and think, and then go into that VC meeting, right, and be like, I am gonna, there's no offense to men in the room, like, sorry, I love all the men, I have a lot of men around me, but studies show that they have the confidence to go in and sell it as if it's already there. A woman will come with a really awesome idea, completely baked all the way through, have the full business plan, have proven it 10 ways to Sunday, and be a little nervous that maybe it won't work, right? Like, oh no, I'm not so sure, maybe you don't want to give me the money, I'm not so sure. If I could give you anything, like the confidence to believe in yourself, to find that, but you have to find that within yourself, and I think that's, you know, it goes to really like loving ourselves. Right? And we have so much pressure with how we look, how we show up, how we act, are we strong versus soft, right? So I always try to balance this. I'm a strong leader, but I'm also soft. I'm also soft and I have a heart. I'm direct and I'm harsh, and my people will tell you that. But I think at the end of the day, I'm pretty soft, and I'll have a conversation, and I'm over it in 5 minutes. Like, I'm not gonna hold on to it with you. I'm gonna tell you exactly how I feel and be done with it. But to find a way to have that confidence, and whether it's supporting each other. Another big thing is to find other women that you can share your dreams with. And when you say your dream out loud, and actually I do that myself out loud via like Facebook or something, right? I'll say, I'm gonna do this. This is where I am. So I put the stake in the ground for myself that I need to get there, right? So kind of once you put it there, then you feel that you can get there. And that's halfway to believing it, right? So if you put it out there that you can do this, you start to make your way to believing it. It's like starting to say, you start saying by, I'm trying to think of an example, like if you don't have any money, right? You start to say, oh, I'm really poor, I have no money in my bank account. And then you can start to say, you know, get yourself to what can I say, even though I have no money in my bank account, what can I say to myself that I actually believe? Well, I believe tomorrow I'm gonna have a lot more money in my bank. Tomorrow I'm gonna have a lot more money in my bank. You can believe that, I can believe that, okay, I'm there. And then you go to the next step, okay, what else can I believe? I believe, well, in a month from now, I am can pay all my bills, and there's no stress, and it's all let go, and you just take yourself to where you can believe it. Because when you start to doubt it, then you have the negative emotion. So all of manifestation is about the emotion, and when you have negative emotion and doubt, you're gonna actually manifest what you don't want, even though you're asking for what you do want. So you have to be saying it with positive emotion and believe it, so you have to take yourself to a place that you can believe. As I love that, yeah, love the question, thank you. I'm super passionate about this stuff, clearly.
Who are some of your role models?
My biggest role model is actually my brother in my life, because he, you know, when my mom was working so many hours, I was actually talking about this the other day, that he would get up at 4 in the morning and make us breakfast and get shit done for us, and then go to school and come home and make sure we got our homework done. Still beating me up a little bit along the way, and I think part of the reason I am who I am is because I had 2 older brothers that perhaps I always wanted to be like them. I wanted to fit in. They're always saying no. I'll never forget when I graduated college, my oldest brother said to me, Amanda, you'd be lucky if you'll be a telemarketer. And we were driving to Blockbuster on Thanksgiving to go get a movie that night, and I was like, what? I'll be lucky I'll be a telemarketer? What are you talking about? Like, no, this is not true. And so that bit of doubt that he put in me was my seed to say, screw you. I'm gonna make more money than you next year. You know, like there was that. So finding somebody like taking that negative and turning it into my, that pushed me in my drive for the positive. So let somebody tell you you're not good enough, and let that be your drive.
I have two questions. One is about leadership in startup. Another one is about a little bit technical and stuff. So the first one, in the software engineering field, most people are male. So how do you make them believe in you and lead them?
That's a really good question. I don't know how they believe me. I don't know how it happens. And actually, I have a funny story because I was telling this story the other day. But when we first got started, we were like 15, basically developers and data scientists, and it was mostly male in the early days. Now I think we're like 40-something% female. We have 2 data scientists in the back that are female, and they're awesome rock stars. But when we first started, I remember I would go away because I speak a lot at conferences because that's how we get a lot of our business. And I came back, and all of a sudden, I noticed that they're like, oh, I checked this into Demanda. I did this in Demanda. I'm like, what? What are they saying? So my name's Amanda, and some people call me Demanda sometimes. Well, they named our internal system Demanda. So now, and it was like, it had been 2 weeks. And in 2 weeks in software and startup world, if you try to rename something, you lose 6 months, right? So I'm like, you need to change that name. That cannot be the name. It is still, because they're like, no, we can't change it. It's like, but that's maybe when I realized that they were like listening to what I had to say in a weird kind of way. Like I had that. And I didn't know. All I knew was that I could give them the vision and the passion for what I was doing and hold people really accountable. Like I think my biggest challenge is keeping people to deadlines because we're constantly moving and holding everyone feeling like ownership. I want people to feel like they own this just as much as I do. Like if we are successful, you are going to be wealthy and successful as well. Like we're all in this together and we're early. Like you don't realize like we're the first 10 on a really awesome journey, right? So when we were starting, so that's, I don't know how I do it. I think it's in my DNA a little bit, but.
So particularly in the Bay Area, there's a lot of focus on kind of like technical founders and people who kind of like build a product first and then make a company around it, as opposed to people whose background kind of is in the company side of things. So maybe kind of partially through the prism of like being a woman founder, maybe what were some advantages and disadvantages of being a non-technical founder?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Well, I have a great technical co-founder. So my CTO is an amazing human being as well as an amazing developer. So we're partners in crime in everything. I mean, when we're making even like business decisions, like big things happening with us, he's in that decision as well as I'm in some of the technical decisions. And I have a good understanding for technology. I'm not a developer myself, but I've been leading technology teams in my services business for a really long time. I always say that we're really lucky because we found there's a ton of really smart technology people here building awesome technology that are doing great things they've never been able to do before, but they haven't found the business need or haven't found the fit. And that's the biggest challenge in the Valley. You get these awesome developers and people that come into the VCs and say, look, I made it faster and greater and better, and but it's just going to solve a need. And actually, the harder thing in my mind is to solve the need. So we had the need first, and then we went into okay, now let's put this technology behind it. That said, my co-founders were Y Combinator company before, and we came together. So they had built a big data predictive platform and put our application on top. So we were really fortunate to have like 2 things that just worked to bring it together. And that's like the universe. Like I can't say, shit, the universe made that happen, not me. I do it.
How much time did it take for you to actually take the idea from the paper to implement it?
Well, so technically, if you look back, we've been building it for like 6 years. So when I was at Cisco, so Cisco was a customer of ours for 11 years. They basically, funded it, multi-million-dollar project to figure it out. And when I figured it out for them, then I went and built the product, and we built the SaaS platform that was ours and, on our big data store. So, but that process of figuring out how to join the data and how to make the connections and what features go into the models and like what we're actually building and what need it addresses, that took several years. It didn't happen overnight. I mean, we're still building it. We're still figuring it out, right, Lisa? Booja? Those are our data scientists. Yeah?
I like what you said about being yourself and laughing and having fun in your office. this in order to be a better leader. But there are still some women that have probably, in my opinion, been part of the boys' club of business and tech for so long that don't believe that that's an effective way to lead. What would you say to somebody?
You know, each to their own. I can't comment on their, you know, that could be effective what they're doing. I don't know, I'm not walking in their shoes. So I like to try not to be, like, to judge what they're doing. I know what works for me. I'm pretty darn sure that the people who work for me believe in what I'm doing and believe in me and believe in our product. And I can dance around and be silly and then also be super serious. Like, I mean, I still have to be really serious when things are happening and like, and addressing the company and stuff. And, you know, I have that tone, but I also can be frivolous and goofy and give hugs all the time and tell people I love them, like, all the time, you know, and tell people to tell each other you love each other. Figure it out and love each other. Like, you know, there's a way that I think that you can do both. But, yeah, it can be difficult, but yeah.
How have your key challenges changed over time? You talked about, you know, having to raise money and having people believe in you initially. Yeah. What are your current challenges as your company gets bigger?
Oh man, just more and more and more and more and more challenges. So, you know, the biggest things for us is my heart. Like I do a bunch of vision boarding, and like the number one thing that I'm focused on is like customer happiness. Everyone talks about it, but customers have to stay happy. Like sales will come. I have no doubt, and we've got an awesome sales team in the back of the room. The 2 token men back there, there might be another one here as well. But I worry, you know, just being able to keep up with the demand of everything that we have, and you know, as more great things happen to the company, there's more demands that come down with that. And then I've never done it before, right? I didn't know when we were in the early stages, and I don't know now as we're kind of getting into our growth stage. Like, I'm still figuring it out. I'm a big believer in networking and asking questions myself. Like, I'll go and do a lot of events with other CEOs, and I have a group of them that I really trust, and I go to and ask questions, hard questions of. But trust my gut, right? That's all I can do. I'm just going to keep every day, do the best I can. If it all fails, it's okay. Lucky me, I got to have this journey, right? Like, I have to remember that. What's the worst that can happen? It's okay. I'm going to be okay. It's okay. That's what I have to keep reminding myself. But I have to remind myself a lot because it sometimes can be stressful. Any other questions? Yeah?
Going back a little bit before you started Sixth Sense, starting your services company, what was sort of the journey to get to that, to start that? Because that sounds like that's when you were first a true entrepreneur.
Yeah, I started that when I was 22. Well, actually, I started my first company right out of college with my dad. My dad built, it was the mid-90s, and he built kind of similar to like Dreamweaver application where you could like put websites together really quick. And in my mind, I had no idea what that meant. I was not a technology major. I was a journalism major. I was like, oh, this is great. I'm like, okay, Dad, I'm going to do this with you. So I went to college in Boulder, Colorado, and I went around Pearl Street. I don't know if you know, Pearl Street's like an outside shopping area in Boulder, Colorado, and all these stores are outside. So I went around to every single store, and I was like, look, we're going to build this virtual Pearl Street. So it wasn't like what we think of as the web, where you go to like navigate and stuff. No, so you're going to walk down virtually and go into a store and see what's hanging there. And like in my mind, that's what I was selling. So I went there and I sold like 20 of these like virtual stores to these companies. And then I went into a jewelry store. And I sold, and they asked me to, if I would do a kiosk. And I'm like, sure, what's a kiosk? I have no fucking idea what's a kiosk. I don't know what a kiosk is. And so I sold the kiosk. I was like, sure, we can do it. And I sent it to my dad, and he was like, okay, you're fired. He's like, we can't build a kiosk. Do you know what a kiosk is? And I was like, and actually, my dad came to meet my co-founders when we first started, and he told this story. He's like, careful, she'll sell kiosks. Like, you know what she's going to sell. But, you know, so he fired me and and had to cancel all of those contracts, and I packed up my car and I was like, you know, I'm leaving Boulder, I'm going to San Francisco. So that's when I had like previously a few years earlier with my boyfriend said I was going to live there one day. Had like $100 to my name, left my dog in Boulder, and told my friend, when I find a house and know where I'm going to live, I'll call you, I'll come back for her and get her. And on my journey out, I was like calling friends. Anybody know anyone who lives in San Francisco? I can crash on their couch. And finally, I got a friend to say, yeah, my sister lives there. You can crash on her couch. By the time I actually made it. And so I crashed on her couch for a while, and I ended up working for an advisory services company, Forrester. It was Giga Information Group, which got bought by Forrester. And in my year there, I built a multi-million-dollar practice, which was this silliest idea in the whole wide world, but people needed it. And we were basically, it was the early days of the web, and we would take enterprise companies, so HSBC Bank and Chevron and all these big companies were our customers, and we had a checklist of like 500 to 1,000 things that were like, are you doing this on your website? And we give them a scorecard back. And I'm like, okay, here's your scorecard. It's like 80%, right? So we had this like silly scorecard idea that people are paying ridiculous amounts of money for, like $500,000 to get this scorecard to see if they're doing their website right. Who was I to know what was right? But I was just reading this research and coming up with checklists. And so basically, and I was making $34,000. And I went to them and I was like, I want a raise. And they're like, no, at the annual you can have a raise. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? Like we have 16 people here now that are doing this. We had all these like college interns coming through, so we didn't pay anyone anything. And that's when I was like, I'm out. And so I left and started my own company. And at the time, HSBC Bank, we had told them to buy this software that brought together web and call center data. And I was like, well, if I figure out how to do it, will you pay me to implement it for you? And then that's how I started my company. So they got me an apartment in Chicago, and I basically was like helping them implement the software I knew nothing about. But again, it's making it until you make it, right? And then I knew it. Now I'm like a domain expert when it comes to like multi-channel analytics and stuff. But I didn't know, but I was going to figure it out. And so you don't have to be there. No, you can figure it out. Believe in yourself that y'all figure it out. And I went from making like $30,000 to $300,000 in like 5 seconds. So that it can happen, and you just have to like believe in yourself. And then I'm lucky. This is my journey. Like I know that I've been blessed with the ability to like have these opportunities come to me. But it's also walking through that door when it opens.
Do you feel, so I work with financial services and tech, and they're both voice calls. And one of my customers said to me, the reason she's successful is she always felt that she had to know more and be better than all of the men. And what do you say to that?
No,
How
you don't.
are you so successful?
Yeah, I don't think you do. I think you have to have more confidence, right? So, and not more. You just have to have confidence. So I don't like life in comparison. So actually, one of the things that our company, we have some competition coming up and stuff, and I'm like, stop comparing ourselves. Like we know what we're doing works, and it works really, really, really well. What they're doing, we don't know that works, and we don't know where they are, so don't compare. Like when you get in a life of comparing myself to like the woman next to me, how does she look compared to how do I look, or how do our product compare to that? You're just gonna beat yourself up, and just be on your path. Do what you know. I mean, it's good to know, like just kind of know what's going on. Maybe you can learn something, but don't get hung up on it, right? So I don't get hung up on who's better. I'm just gonna be great. So yeah.
It's a bit personal, so if you wish not to answer it, that's...
I am a pretty open book, can't you tell?
How do you manage, like, how do you create that balance between your personal life and your professional life?
Yeah. I don't have much of a personal life. I do and I don't. I mean, no, I don't. All right. In fairness, okay, so I have had a personal life. I've fucked up my personal life. I've made some bad choices in my personal life. And actually, one of my oldest brothers and I have an ongoing debate about, he's like, because he's an entrepreneur too. And he's like, you can do it all. Like he has a little boy, and he's like, you can have both and do it all. And I'm like, I just can't. Like, I don't have the energy to like go out at night. Like right now, the idea that I'm even up at this hour, it's only 7. You think that's crazy, but I get up at 4. Like I get up in the morning. My mornings are my time for me to be out. Anytime it's like I'm at work maybe, but talking and being active is a big deal for me. So for me, it's choices. And right now, I'm making the choice to put my energy into 6 Sense. That said, I'm going to read this to you. I was thinking about reading this to you guys. So my brother came to visit me the other day, and I actually think he makes a really good point, which I try to listen when I don't agree, because I don't really agree with this 100%, but I'm going to try to listen to it. So he surprised me last night and came to town from San Diego, and then my whole family all went out, and he left me some flowers on my table and left this 4-page little note. It's not that long because it's a big text, so don't worry. So he calls me Mander. He says, Mander, you're a force, amazing, be so proud. Very people could do what you've done and you're destined to do. Relish it, take pride, and reward yourself, but ... By giving time to developing and building you, don't let the activity of business and success hold you back from investing in you personally. treat yourself, 1, to a personal social event once a week. Make it a routine, like checking email. 2 times a month, go talk to someone. Pay to talk to someone about you, your innermost amazing you. And number 3, do the hard work of building you, but executing number 1 and 2 above. Do it, love Finch. P.S. This is the nourishing cube steak of your life. Nothing more important. And so we used to talk about, my mom gives us these awful cube steaks when we were younger. So we were talking about that the night before, but he's right. Like I'm learning, I haven't figured it out, to balance, and I don't have an answer for it because I am not doing it well. I have fun when I go to those like the events I go to, like there's a founders thing in Dublin that I went to that was awesome. I met Bono, and like for me, like that's fun, right? I'm meeting all these awesome people and other founders that like inspire me. I'm going to Hawaii in a couple weeks for a week with other CEOs. And so that's I get my nourishment, my personal side there. And I just got into the battery, so I'm now going to try to do that once in a while so I can like get out. But I really, it's hard. I haven't figured it out. I don't have the answer. Any other questions? Yeah.
Are there any books or movies, TV shows, or new inventions you're really excited about?
My Bibles are, so when I started my first company at 22, I had 2 Bibles that I still will give out to, like, actually I have several books. If you email me, anyone who like wants like inspiration stuff, well, one of them is not that exciting. It's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. So that was, I've probably read that 15 times, right, to like get my habits in check. And just really like first seeking to understand before seeking to be understood, like the human nature of everything it offers. The other book that I find, and the title's awful for what it is, it's Og Mandino's Greatest Salesman in the World. It's not about being a salesman, it's about creating habits. And so it teaches you, there's these 10 scrolls, these 10 habits. And what it does, it says it's like 3 pages per scroll. And you're supposed to read it 3 times a day for 30 days before you go on to the next one. So the first one is like, I will persist until I succeed. I will greet everyone with love in my heart. So like there's other different ones that you just kind of, that for me, they're like these like very core like essence of, and I did that for 30 days for a year, 3 times a day. And I swear by those 2 that did it. There's a lot of other like, love is letting go of fear, like there's other meditation type of things, and I would point you to as well, but yeah, lots of that kind of stuff. Eckhart Tolle, Og Mandino, Wayne Dyer, those are all my like inspirations. Any other questions?
Yeah, you were talking about sort of being able to do business while also doing good, which is something that I'm really interested in, and I feel like not a lot of business people are thinking about, and I love the fact that you're thinking about Girl Rising and how your business can support that. When you talk to people about that, and like, what do you feel, I mean, how are you doing that? I guess that's the question.
So I can't tell you because I don't want my competitors to know how we do it. Because we're actually doing something really, I think, really, really awesome. And it's just, we're just kind of launching this program in about 6 months. Hopefully I'll be able to like announce how we're doing it. But the end goal is we're driving donations to Girl Rising while helping our customers find customers. So we're bringing 2 things together which seem impossible. And actually I didn't even come up with the idea. So my CSO, Chief Strategy Officer, who lives in New York, we were having coffee and we were trying to decide what to do with this idea we had. And he's like, why not do this? And I was like, oh my gosh. And then it just like, I just got so much more excited about what we're doing. If you can find that connection, which you can't in all businesses in all ways, but maybe you can. So maybe you can be creative, right? So there might be, it may not be with your whole business, but like a piece of it. And like, that's why I love Benioff and everything he's doing, because he's like made it part of his DNA, and everything he talks about is like, I'm going to build this amazing company. But he has committed his life to like, inspiring other entrepreneurs to take responsibility and take ownership of it. And I think it was frowned upon years ago that if you gave part of your revenue or anything back to charity, like do that on your own time, not on the business time. And I'm sorry, but that's what our life, my life is the business, and it is everything we do. And I ended every VC pitch with, this is who I am, and this is what I'm going to do. And this is why, I know this is why I'm on my journey, because when and if, knock on wood, anything great happens, that's where I'm going to be, right? So I don't know if I'll be living in India, wherever I'm going to be, but giving, like, that makes me feel amazing. Like, every little bit, giving feels so freaking good. It's way better than accomplishing. Any other questions?
You mentioned your brothers are also entrepreneurs, and I'm sure through your shared stories, you've been able to kind of open up and hear about their experiences while sharing your own. What have you found have been the biggest differences being a female entrepreneur versus their experience, if there have been any differences at all?
You know, it's funny, they don't tell the story. They don't tell our story. And actually one of my brothers like, that didn't happen. I'm like, okay. You know, we did have times when we didn't have electricity, and like we went in buckets and threw it outside. Like, he would never tell that story, right? Differences between us, you know, I don't know, I want to inspire other women to dream big and think big, but I don't see it as like, I'm a woman, they're a man necessarily. Like, I see it as I've had my own internal demons that I have to fight to get to where I am, and they probably have their own in their own way. So, you know, I struggle with this question because I don't think it's as black and white. And they have their own shit that they're dealing with in their head, you know, and I know what goes on in their ego minds sometimes. All of our egos, ego not in a bad way, ego in that we are our egos. So I don't have an answer for that one either. You know, they don't get as raw as I do in this whole process. But I think that's what makes me relatable, and I'm happy I could do that. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
I don't want to use the word mentor because it's like a bad word now, but who are the people who have been really helpful to you along your journey, and who you don't know if you have gotten there without them, if anyone?
Yeah, a couple people. Actually, Amy, sitting right here. Amy is a happiness doctor. So she has committed her life. She knew when she was 16 that she was meant to make people happy and teach them how to live positive, fulfilling lives, and has come up with a practice and a business around it. And she is there for me. When I'm down and low, and she'll just call me, and I'm mean. Like, I'm like, leave me alone. Like, I don't talk to you. Like, because you know your family and people you're really close to, you're probably not as nice to. I'm probably not as nice to Amy as I am to other people. But she just sends me a smile and a love, and like is always there, right? So that, you know, it's not the business sense of like get me there, but she always believes in me, and that just like feels pretty freaking awesome, and I love her. And then I would also say there was someone by the name of Cliff Burrow who helped me early on in the process believe in my company. He was starting his own company. He was an entrepreneur before. He had a couple companies and then decided to help entrepreneurs. So kind of, you know, those mentorship type programs, and basically shopped me around the valley. And I was his first entrepreneur. Like, he was shopping around to take me to all these, you know, this Sequoia and August and all these companies, right? So I'm going to all these VCs I never would have gotten into. I'll never forget, I left, actually Venrock, 9 months before the Venrock battery and my Series A investors, and 9 months before I got the money from Venrock, I had gone to see them before, and when I left that meeting, Cliff pulled me over the side of the road afterwards, and he's like, just pull over, Amanda. And I was like, why? Why do you want me to pull over? And he's like, you were awful. He's like, you were terrible. He's like, this is not a sales pitch. You are not supposed to sell to them like this. And he pulled out a TED Talk of this guy talking about how you use your tone of your voice, and like it should say here and then go up and then come down and then go up and then come down, and that's how you relate to, right? And I literally, and he's like he's usually a really nice person, but he was really hard on me. And I said, you gotta get out of the car. Like, or can you just get out for a second? And then I just bawled. I was like, I'm not gonna do this, right? So I had this moment, but he was really real with me, you know, like, and if I didn't hear that, and so many other ways like that, you know, and just people who, and like that's why I said my brother, when I was asked kind of a similar question before, so he doesn't tell me what I want to hear, he tells me what I need to hear. And I love, that's what I love, that's what I need, and that's what we need for each other. So we should all be real and not be afraid to be real and not take it personally, right? So that's the essence of growth, is to be able to do that. Anything else? Well, thanks everyone.